Hey everyone, and welcome to the Magical Miracle Network. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm really grateful all of you guys are here with me today. I have a very special local guest with me. His name is Dan O'Neill, and he has been doing A Course in Miracles for a long time. And so, Dan, thank you for again coming on and being with me on this network today.
It's my pleasure.
And so we were just chit-chatting a little bit before we hit the record button about you and your journey. And I just want to kind of touch a little bit more again today about, how you got to A Course in Miracles and what you do here locally in Richmond with that.
So I was in Baltimore, my hometown, and I got laid off, and my one of our subcontractors asked me to come down to Richmond to work. I was taking a meditation class with a guy named Jack Polin in Baltimore in the Ruscombe Mansion, and he told me to look up Dr. Vernon Sylvester and the Institute for Higher Healing when I got to Richmond. So one of the first things I did, since I didn't know anybody other than my coworkers, was to explore Richmond, and one of the first things I did was I went to the Institute of Higher Healing, and I met Dr. Sylvester, and he happened to be doing a lecture series on A Course in Miracles, an 8-week lecture series. So I knew it was a good thing, so I went to the lecture series, and I was immediately hooked. The concepts of the course just felt right in my heart and in my mind. And so I became part of the study group. This was in '89, and the person who was leading the group moved to Virginia Beach, and so I became the leader of the group, and it's been that way for the last 33 years, 32 years. I don't know, a long time.
Wow. So this is at Unity of Bon Air, right? That you've been the leader for the last 32 years. Is that correct?
We moved around. We started at the Institute of Higher Healing, which was already established by Dr. Sylvester in 1985, actually. So he started that group actually at Johnston Willis in the pathology department, because he was the head of pathology at Johnston Willis Hospital. But then when he got his center, he moved it to there. So the group was basically with a group of regular people, other than just doctors and nurses. It was there, and then when that gave up the ghost, we moved to the Miracle Center on Carey Street, which was started by two women who were Course in Miracles students. It was at 10 East Carey.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there was a Miracle Center here in Richmond. That's new to me. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was in 91 or 2.
Uh-huh.
And then when they gave up that space, then we moved to Unity of Richmond on Seminary Avenue, when it was still in the little house on Seminary and Laburnum.
Wow.
And we met in the living room there, like 10 people.
Where all great things are started, in a living room, right? Where all great things are started. Yes.
Yeah. And then when Unity Richmond moved to buy that little Baptist church over on Blanton Avenue next to Bird Park, and have that real church, we moved there. We were there for a while. They changed ministers, and one of the ministers wasn't really friendly towards the course, so we moved to meet in a Science of Mind church for a while, and then we were heartily welcomed into Bon Air, a Unity of Bon Air, by Reverend Joyce Fisher Pierce back in around 2000, I think. And we've been there ever since.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. What the popcorn trail that you were following, through Richmond, and so everyone, he's at Unity of Bon Air here locally in Richmond, Virginia. Dan leads a group Monday nights, joined with Scott McLean because he's from his location on Staples Mill Road, and you guys joined together on Zoom. So.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's great. That's a great, and you guys, again, it's a great, if you guys are, wherever you are in the world of form, if you want to just, find Dan and Scott on Monday night, it's a great class. And Dan has been doing this for a long time. He's got such great wisdom, and that's the reason we're bringing you on here to really get your wisdom around A Course in Miracles. And I think one of the things we were also talking about before we hit record was the idea of encouragement, right? The idea of encouraging each other. And I think also just the younger generations coming up who are new to the course and really giving them some encouragement with it.
Yeah, you never know how what you say might affect someone else. It might just be an offhand comment, and it could change somebody's life. And I've had examples of that where I had no clue that what I said would help somebody, but it did. And that person will come back to me and tell me later that it did. And that just feels so good to know that you're helping each other.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like we need to, what a great support system A Course in Miracles really is, here locally and around the world, is that it really is a great community of like-minded individuals who are on track with this beautiful self-study program that it is. It's not a religion. It's just a one path of many, as we know. And so I'm just so grateful that you and I have connected and we're doing these videos. This is our second video among, I'm hoping, many to come. And today we're gonna kind of transition into our chit chat about the course, if that's okay with you. We were talking about, I think you were doing this last night in your class, chapter 21, Reason versus Madness. And we can touch on that and anything else organically that comes up in our 20 or 25 minutes that we spend together today. So I'm just going to let you kind of take the reins and give us some wisdom, and we'll just kind of ping back and forth, if that feels good to you.
Sure. So one of the concepts in the course is that we're all one, that there really is no separation between us or between our source and us. So and the section that we were reading last night just reinforced that thought. So in one line is neither your brother nor yourself can be attacked alone, but neither can accept a miracle instead without the other being blessed by it and healed of pain. So what we are each other's saviors, basically. We by holding a positive thought about who we are, who our brother is, and who I am, we reinforce that thought for our brother and for ourselves. And as we see another, we actually see ourselves, whether we're conscious of it or not. We might not be conscious of the fact that we're projecting something out of fear onto somebody else. So another paragraph starts with, you are your brother's savior. He is yours. Reason speaks happily indeed of this. This gracious plan was given love by capital L, love, which is source. And what love plans is like itself in this, being united, it would have you learn what you must be, and being one with it, it must be given you to give what it has given and give still. Spend but an instant in the glad acceptance of what is given you to give your brother, and learn with him what has been given both of you. To give is no more blessed than to receive, but neither is it less. So giving and receiving are the same energy. So graciously receiving is giving your brother the opportunity to give, which feels really good. So that's another whole other concept. But that's one that I had a tough time with, because my father always was about being self-sufficient, self-reliant. And I had a hard time for the longest time to ask for help. Until I was put in a position where I had to ask for help. That's how I learned to do it.
Yes.
And graciously receive it, and realize that I was blessing someone else by giving them an opportunity to help me. That's a whole nother subject. But I just it just came up when I was reading that, so thought I'd
Yeah,
share it.
that's really cool about giving and receiving. We often forget that receiving is part of that oneness, that when we're calling for help or love or whatever, that it gives another being an opportunity to step up to the plate and to offer you love, support, encouragement, as we've been talking about. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Because then it's that, I feel like that's that beautiful infinite symbol that kind of goes back and forth. And that's so cool. So I love that example that you gave there. It's nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So reason versus madness. I love that section. And I
There's
think that,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there's a lot of examples of madness in here too.
Yeah, let's definitely touch on that because I don't think people really understand. And oftentimes it's confusing for course students too, is that there is a huge difference between being in your right mind, which is the reasonable mind, the reason, and being in your wrong mind, which is in that madness, and that they are not connected in any way. So yeah, is there something there that you want to read to touch on?
Let's see. Yeah. So the home of madness cannot be the home of reason. Yet it is easy to leave the home of madness if you see reason. You do not leave insanity by going somewhere else. You leave it simply by accepting reason where madness was. Madness and reason see the same things, but it is certain that they look upon them differently. So our perceptions determine how we see something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Let's do an example of that. Like, let's just kind of organically bring up our perceptions there and when we're looking at something or someone.
So someone can see what looks like bad luck in their lives, but then they might not see the good that can come from that if the issue that's brought up heals something in them. Mm-hmm. So you can choose to see it as an opportunity to heal, or you can choose to see it as bad luck and be depressed about it. It depends on how you choose to see it.
Yes, I agree with that. So it's really our choice, right? We're choosing, which is that decision-making mind that he talks about so often. We're really deciding who to look at something with. So when we bring up a grievance or a fear, and I've had plenty of those, I tell you, I've got an arsenal of that, that has come up in my lifetime. I've had a really fascinating journey through grievances and fears and separation and guilt and all of that. And it's all kind of in the same soup of madness. And so you can just sort of cherry pick something out of that. And instead of repressing it or pushing it down, which is what the ego wants us to do, I think spirit really wants us to look at it with reason and shed that light on it.
And I guess because we're using the words reason and madness, I just have to say that the course is very black and white.
Yes.
So you're either coming from love or you're coming from fear. That's the two choices that you have. And who wouldn't want to come from love if you recognize that you have that choice? Nobody wants to be fearful. Everybody wants to love and be loved, right? So, because we're talking about madness, and that is a strong word, I thought I should talk about that a little bit.
Yes, please do. Let's talk about madness. Go for it.
So the course says that we're in madness when we're seeing the false reality of the world, through the not looking at the divine interpretation of things. So everything in the world, according to the course, is about separation and death. And when you choose from love, you're choosing the higher, from your higher self. You're choosing connection and community and win-win situations instead of separating as the ego would have you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the ego really wants us to be, separating through through specialness. He talks about that a ton, and through sort of labeling things as this is right, this is wrong. Just sort of label, and separate out. We do it all the time, and we're oftentimes unconscious of the fact that we're doing it. Yeah. So the course truly is all about separation and death. And I was having a conversation yesterday that we can begin to really disagree with that. We can disagree with separation. We can disagree with the labeling. We can disagree with death, because there's an unconscious belief, I feel, I'll talk with you about, but that death is just natural, and it really isn't. It's not natural.
Well, the Course says that there is no true death. I mean, that we are spiritual beings having this physical relationship, and the spirit is always forever live. We never truly die. And we may have had some situations where maybe someone that we loved passed, and we were still felt connected, or still were able to communicate, or got some healing from that situation. And many of us are sensitive to that kind of energy. So, so that death is just another aspect of the separation idea that ego is. The Course also talks a lot about responsibility for our lives, taking responsibility for our thoughts and our actions. And as I was thinking about this lesson, I also thought about another section called the responsibility for sight.
Yes.
And this is an italicized section in chapter 21, Roman numeral 2, and I'll read it to you. It's yes. Powerful. It's a powerful thought, and it's sometimes hard to accept, but this is the concept. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Now, that's a tough thought to look at something that's going on in your life and say, I asked for this, unconsciously. There was something that we need to learn from a situation. But to be responsible for what you see is where you have choice. And when you see something, when you can see the loving side of it, or the positive side of it, actually everything changes in your life. You actually change it with that thought. You don't wallow in what's going on in your life that may not be pleasant for you. So this is a very powerful statement. But if you let it just sink in and really, really look at it, you can see the truth in it.
Yeah, it's so well said, Dan. Thank you for that. I love that we really do have to take responsibility. I mean, take ownership, right, of our thinking. And I think that's, of course, it's a course in mind training and a course in our thinking, at that level. And to really begin everybody, that mind wandering thing that we're just so used to, right? That comes up through our day. Well, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just thinking about blah, blah, blah. And I can see where the grievances start to come up. And that's that mind wandering that comes up. And I think all of us fall into that trap, that ego trap of mind wandering. But to catch it, right? Okay, I'm in it. Like, and then I'm going to catch it and then take that responsibility to shift and look at it differently.
Yeah. Change your thought and change your life, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to madness for a second. Let's talk about the mad, because I want to get maybe an example or two of madness. So I can just sort of bring up, I've had a fear of the ooey gooey stuff in my life, like maybe a spider might scare me, or maybe a bad dream will scare me sometimes. I had one the other night that I was like, oh, I woke up and I was in fear. And so, but that is, I was in my sleep, and that somewhere in there in the unconscious, subconscious, even conscious mind, I have made a decision to choose that teacher of fear. And when you're in it, right? It's like, oh, you're gripped. And so when you have a frightening thought, and some of that comes from childhood, we might have seen something on a movie. We might have seen something, happen on the playground that really scared us. We might have been in a situation that scared us. And that when you have that repetitive thought, that's madness, right? You're going into that repetition of going into that place. So maybe we can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So that brings up a story that I heard about Judith Scutch. She was
Yes.
on Subway, and there were some men sitting across from her who were you might judge as unsavory. They looked rough and like they wanted to maybe rob her. So she dropped her purse on the floor, and then one of the men started coming towards her, and she decided to see the love and the innocent being that was in front of her in her mind. She saw the divine, and it was as if the guy was stunned for a moment. He stopped. He picked up her purse and handed it back to her, and got off it. Then they got off at the next stop. And so Judith, I believe that what Judith did in her mind right there was choose the truth, choose the real truth of who they were, and changed the whole situation because of her perception, her true perception.
Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful example of the power of our minds. We often forget how powerful our mind is.
Yeah.
And we are joined in the mind. So when she shifted her perception, it's really a miracle.
Yeah.
She went from the fear mind into her holy mind. And wow, it seemed like it was a really fast thought too, right? She was like having in that fear that she's going to get robbed. And then she shifted it. And then that thought, it seems like it just went straight to this guy.
Mhm.
And instead of, taking, he was able to give her purse back. Wow.
Yeah.
So that madness was in the mind, that fear.
The fear.
And yeah, wow. That's a great example. Do you have another one? That's a really good example.
There was another one that was very similar. It was I forget the woman's name. It was something Down Under. It was a book about a woman who went to Australia.
Oh yeah.
And she and this was in a audio file that I heard of a talk she was giving after she came back and was talking about her book. The interesting story was that she was told that she had won an award and that she needed to go to to Australia to get it. And she got there and she ended up going on walkabout with Aborigines. So she had heels and dress and everything. She ended up having to just leave it all and go on this walkabout. And the gift was that they took her on walkabout. She didn't know that. She thought she was getting a trophy or something. So that's what that book is about. I can't remember.
It's the mutant message down.
That's it. Mutant Message Down Under.
I've read it. I've read that book. Yes.
So she was sharing a story at a church after that, like the audio file that I heard, where she was with her grandson. They were at a beach. It was a restroom at the beach, a public restroom, and they were in a stall. And there was a crazy man with an axe running around. He was like really out of his mind, and he had an axe. and he was about to he was coming towards them with this axe, and she did the same thing that Judith did. She went in her mind and said, I'm so grateful to be with you, my brother, my innocent brother, and holy presence. And the same thing happened with her. He just stopped dead, and they walked past him, and they got out. But he was actually coming for them with an axe.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Now, so that was a little more demonstrative of his intent, rather than the other situation.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, spirit will guide you. And I feel like this is probably important to mention too, is like spirit will guide you to say, shift your perception in that now moment as best you can. But if you're guided to walk away or get away from that, that's okay too. You can always go back in the mind and remind that being and yourself later in the day that that was a holy encounter, and bringing that true perception back into the mind, because time is malleable, as we know. Past, present, and future all happening at the same time. So regardless if you join at that moment or join later, it's still working, right?
That's a really good point. You don't have to put yourself in harm's way to test yourself.
Yes.
You can run and then do it later, as you just mentioned. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be silly.
Yeah. I love that example. It's a great book. I can't remember her name, but I think it's The Mutant Message Down Under. People can Google that if they want to and find that message.
That's a great
what a great story about her journey through Australia and with the Aboriginal people there. So reason versus madness. This is a great section out of A Course in Miracles that Dan has brought to us today. And before we leave today, if it's okay with you, you're such a great prayer, and we're in this Thanksgiving week. A lot of grace and gratitude this week that we're spreading around. And I was hoping that you could say just a short prayer for everyone out there. Would that be okay with you?
Sure. So let's get comfortable in our chairs. Take a deep breath. Bring your attention to your heart, my favorite place to go. And just think about all the things that we have to be grateful for. We have clean air to breathe, good water, nutritious food, shelter from the elements. We have so much to be grateful for in this country that many other people around the world don't have. We have a bounty of food. Let us bring to our attention all the love in our lives. Love of friends and family, community. As we open our hearts to each other, thinking about all the grateful things all the things we can be grateful for. More things come to mind. Let us feel the love that we are and share it, knowing that we're all swimming in a sea of love, that we are always and continuously loved by our source, and that as we open our hearts to each other, we increase the energy of that love exponentially. I'm grateful for Ruth's YouTube channel and how we can extend the concepts of the Course to everyone through this source. Amen.
Amen. Oh, Dan, I feel so much better. Just that prayer, I can really feel it. And I do feel that people watching this will feel that beautiful energy that you just sent, joining with everyone You guys, this is Dan O'Neill. He's an amazing teacher. He's been doing this for a long while, 32 years, and he's got such great wisdom to share. And I'm really grateful you've come on today to share with us from chapter 21 and also the responsibility for sight, reason versus madness, and to share those examples, because I think that what I'm feeling more and more is that we need to share these practical examples with people so that they can really get into the course material and know that it's about the mind training, but it's also about the practical examples in this world where we appear to be right now. Dan, any final words for anyone out there today before I stop the recording?
Just be the love that you are, being made in the image of love.
Absolutely. God bless you, my dear friend. I'll see you soon.
All right.